Hi everybody, my name's Naomi and I work for the Institute of Urban Ecology at Douglas College. Now that's kind of a funny job name. What does urban ecology mean? Well, the word urban means a place where people live, just like here where you live. And the word ecology is a type of science that looks at how all the living and non-living things in an area interact. And we call these areas ecosystems. So my job is really special because I get to come and work with people just like you and raise awareness about the nature in our cities. Take a moment now to pause the video and make a list or a drawing of all the things you share your urban ecosystem with. We're really lucky here in British Columbia because we have a lot of nature in our cities, even more than you might think. Did your list or drawing include plants? Did you include insects like bees or spiders? Did you remember to add in a frog? If you forgot to add any of these things, go ahead and add them in quickly now. And don't worry, a lot of people, especially adults, forget these things too. Here along the coast of British Columbia, we have more nature than most places on Earth. And so it's really easy to forget or overlook some things sometimes. And so today, I want to talk about a very special group of animals that often also gets overlooked. They can be kind of small. They're really good at hiding and they can live under the water sometimes. Do you know which ones I'm thinking about? You guessed it, I'm talking about the amazing amphibians. And so to follow along with this video, everyone should have a handbook just like this. And you can go ahead and put your name on it because this is yours to keep. And to follow along, you're also going to need to get a pencil, an eraser, something to color with, a pair of scissors, and a glue stick. So if you need a moment now, go ahead and pause the video and get all your supplies ready. And then when you come back, we're going to go through every page of the handbook together one by one. All right, is everybody ready? Teachers, feel free to hit pause at any time to allow your class more time to brainstorm and fill in their answers. Students, if you're working from home, I encourage you to do the same. Now I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions and I want you to just try your best and give them your best guess and try to answer them all on your own. We'll also go over all the answers together as well. So if you ever need any extra time to fill in a page, just hit pause. There's only 2 rules that you need to follow from here on out. Number 1, just do the best you can. And number 2, have fun. So let's get started. Amazing amphibians. Now this handbook was made by the Institute of Urban Ecology at Douglas College. And if you have any other questions after today's workshop, here's all the information that you'll need to contact us. Now let's everybody turn to page 1. It looks like this and it says, amphibians have some really cool adaptations to stay alive. What does the word adaptation mean? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. An adaptation is a change or something special that helps an animal to survive. It can be either a change in how they look, like this stick bug here that has adapted to look like a stick. It can also be a change in how the animal behaves or acts, like this baby stick bug that curls up its back end to look like a scorpion when it feels threatened. Okay, let's turn to the next page, and this one says the word amphibian means double life. Now we say amphibians have a double life because baby amphibians are called tadpoles, like this here. Now, how does a tadpole become an adult frog? You don't need to write your answers down right now, just think about it in your head. Tadpoles become frogs through a process called metamorphosis. Tadpoles need to live and breathe under the water, but as the tadpoles start to get older, their bodies start to change, and we call this change metamorphosis. And so first, the tadpoles will grow their back legs, and then they'll grow their fronts. Then they can start to walk and breathe on land. And now tadpoles can grow up to become adult frogs, toads, salamanders, or newts. And so if this tadpole was to become an adult newt or salamander, this is where the change would end. But if that tadpole is going to grow up to become an adult frog or toad, then it also needs to lose its tail. But the tail doesn't just fall off of the tadpole. The tail just starts to get shorter and shorter and shorter until it completely disappears. Once the process of metamorphosis is complete, the new adult amphibians will start the cycle all over again. They'll lay their eggs, the eggs will hatch into tadpoles, and then those tadpoles will undergo metamorphosis to become just like their parents. Let's turn to the next page where you'll see a picture of an adult salamander, an adult newt, an adult frog, and an adult toad. And on top it says, amphibians have very special skin, not scales. Now, amphibians and reptiles often get confused, but reptiles have scales and they don't undergo metamorphosis. So what makes an amphibian's skin so special? Well, on the next page, you'll see a picture of these 4 very brightly colored frogs, and it says their skin can warn predators that they are toxic. Don't eat me! Many amphibians use poisons to protect themselves, and their bright colored skin acts as a warning to other animals and tells them to stay away, I'm poison. An amphibian's skin can also help them camouflage. What does the word camouflage mean? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. Are you ready for the answer? The word camouflage means to blend in with your surroundings. And so on the next page here, I have a picture of 4 camouflaged frogs. And I'll take a moment to pause the video and circle the camouflaged frogs, if you can find them. Are you ready to see the answers? Pretty cool, huh? Now on the next page, we'll see another reason why amphibian skin is so special. And so this page says, amphibian skin is super, super thin. So thin that they can drink and breathe through it. And we also have a picture here of the glass frog. And now the glass frog's skin is so thin that it's actually see-through from the bottom. Now on the next page, I have a really tough question for you. Are you ready? If things like water and air can pass through a frog's skin, what other bad things might get into the frog's body as well? Take a moment now to pause the video and really think hard about this one. Are you ready for the answer? An amphibian's skin is so thin that even things like pollution can pass through it and get inside the frog's body and make them really, really sick. Now, pollution can mean things like chemicals or oils in the water, but even things that are good for our skin, like soaps or suntan lotions or other moisturizers, if they get into the water, they can also make the amphibians really sick too. Now the next page says, because an amphibian's skin is so thin, and for other reasons too, a lot of amphibians around the world are endangered. What does the word endangered mean? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. Are you ready for the answer? Endangered means that there aren't many left of that animal living on Earth anymore. And if we go over to the next page, it says, if people aren't careful now, many amphibians will become extinct. What does the word extinct mean? Pause the video and give it your best guess. Are you ready for the answer? Extinct means that there are no more of that type of animal left anywhere on Earth, just like the dinosaurs. So if we're not careful now, the planet might lose a lot of these different types of amphibians forever. Here in British Columbia, we use a color code to show which animals are endangered. Yellow stands for least concern, which means these animals are not endangered. Blue stands for special concern, which means that these animals are in a little bit of trouble. And red stands for endangered or threatened, and that means that these are the animals that might go extinct next. Now on the next 6 pages, I have pictures of all the different amphibians that live here in British Columbia, and I've put them into their colored groups. So on this page here it says, these BC frogs and toads are yellow listed. Color this box yellow. On the next page it says, these BC frogs and toads are blue listed. Color this box blue. And then on this page it says, these BC frogs and toads are red listed. Color this box red. Then, you guessed it, the next 3 pages are exactly the same, but instead of toads and frogs, it's salamanders and newts. So here we have all the yellow listed salamanders and newts, blue listed salamanders and newts, and red listed salamanders and newts. So take some time now to pause the video and color in all the yellow, blue, and red boxes. You should have colored in 2 yellow boxes, 2 blue boxes, and 2 red boxes. And so once you've done that, I want you to think about your urban ecosystem. That's right here where you live. And I want you to list some reasons why you think so many BC amphibians are endangered. So pause the video now and take a few minutes to really think hard about this and come up with at least one answer. Are you ready for the answer? Amphibians in urban ecosystems are endangered for 3 main reasons. Number 1 is pollution. Remember we talked about how thin an amphibian's skin can be? Reason number 2 is because of invasive species like the bullfrog that is taking over their natural habitat and eating the native local frogs that belong there. Reason number 3 is because of habitat loss. And now habitat is the natural place where an animal lives. What kind of habitat does a frog live in? You guessed it, fresh water, ponds, and streams. But in an urban area like here where we live, a lot of those ponds and streams are being destroyed or damaged by the new roads and buildings that people keep building. I want to introduce you to 2 other BC frogs that don't belong in a yellow, blue, or red group. They have their own special groups. Let's turn to the next page, and it says, the green frog is an introduced species. What does introduced species mean? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. Are you ready for the answer? An introduced species is an animal that does not naturally belong here. It was brought over by people, either on purpose or sometimes by mistake. How do you think the green frog was introduced to British Columbia? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. And now scientists believe the green frog was brought to British Columbia on purpose so that people could keep it as a pet. But sometimes our pets run away, and sometimes people get tired of looking after their pets and they think that it's okay to just let them go in the wild, but it's not. The same thing happened with some pet turtles, and now because of people, we have these green frogs living here in our urban ecosystems, even though they don't naturally belong. The last frog I'm going to introduce you to is on the next page here. It says the bullfrog is an invasive species. What do you think invasive species means? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. Are you ready for the answer? An invasive species is the same thing as an introduced species, but it's become a serious problem in our natural ecosystem. How do you think the bullfrog was introduced to British Columbia? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. So like the green frog, the bullfrog was introduced into British Columbia on purpose, but it wasn't introduced to be someone's pet this time. Do you want to know why people introduced the bullfrog here? People started farming bullfrogs in British Columbia to eat. Have you ever eaten frog's legs? Well, in some cultures, frogs' legs are actually very popular and they consider them very tasty. But here in British Columbia, people didn't like them very much. And so those bullfrog farmers didn't make a lot of money and they just had to let all their bullfrogs go into the wild again. But wait, the bullfrog's just another frog. How can something like a bullfrog damage or threaten our natural ecosystem? Pause the video now and give it your best guess. But the bullfrog is a really big, really hungry frog, and they will eat just about anything that'll fit in their mouth. They eat fish, they'll eat eggs, they'll even eat baby ducks and other frogs. And so when an introduced species like that becomes a problem, we say that it is an invasive species. Take a moment now and see if you can answer this question. What can you do to help stop the spread of introduced and invasive species? Are you ready for the answer? An invasive species can be a type of animal or plant. To help prevent new animals from being introduced here, you should never ever set your pets free into the wild. Owning a pet is a very serious commitment, and it is your responsibility to look after that animal for the rest of its life. If something happens where you absolutely cannot keep your pets anymore, try to find a friend or someone else on the internet maybe who can adopt your pet from you. Make sure you tell them not to let it go either, and share what you've learned today with your friends and family who already have pets at home. Introduced plants often come from our home garden. You can buy all sorts of really cool plants from all over the world to grow in your garden at home, but sometimes without knowing, those cool plants can spread and start to grow in our natural ecosystem. Just like the animals, some introduced plants can become invasive. Do you remember what invasive means again? Because we can never really be sure if a new plant will become invasive or not, it's always best to grow native plants in your garden. Those are the plants that naturally belong here, so we know if they start to spread that they won't become a problem. Now this last question is the most important question, and you all know so much about amphibians now, you're basically like amazing amphibian experts. And so I bet you're going to come up with some really cool ideas here. And for this question, there are no wrong or right answers. You are going to be the scientists now, and you are going to help save all these endangered amphibians. Are you ready for your final challenge? Here it is. What can you do to help protect the amphibians? I want you to write down all your ideas here on this page. And if you have a million amazing ideas, grab an extra piece of paper and write them all down. And if you can, I want you to share your ideas with the rest of your class, your friends or family, everyone you know, so that eventually everyone in your urban ecosystem is working together to help protect it. Thank you so much for coming to join me today and helping to protect our urban ecosystems. We'd love to see what solutions you came up with. And so ask your parents or teachers to send us some photos. You can find all our contact information on the back of the front page there or down below in our video description. And feel free to reach out anytime. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, everybody, thank you again, and bye for now.